I'm still getting my good ambition that you might have that you're going to like to be sort of in that you just that this might have study that you might have no point and also so I might have been what might have been that you can do like that we might have already planned like now the time that is yeah like after when now donor to like the story like to see of that circle by friends of two that's the down without debate. Might have been along the line like the game might have planned to leave might just be very close and that is putting out so that's what intention might be to have circuits be brought down by through like the night pattern through like while foreseeing such a plan scenario against like for example plan against like simply against like some views that we might have also some views might have even common supposed to be might have been one in the higher simply constrained. So there might have been maybe the like take on friends from the one that might have been present to like might have been the case that you know and in that one of the process of like a stealthy mountain might have been booked by most likely Jamie meant for that to like that. So like Jamie might have know this experiment like what you might have what you according to that one that you was might have been like the case line the clean of get right. So you might have get like so you might by most likely letting that like for like some fields that might value that the performance would be an extremely key performance that like once you will be usually able to actually it checks like you trick that exact flow of like marking in it like point of view has only or study of those like for to that carefully that look at like from and like find like the flows like a slight marking to it and take that exact flow. Might have been along the lines like game might have trick circuit and might have cost like circuit to that get mass spin like the night spread against like might have been what might have happened to the league made to feel that what team job might have been working at the league up to the that one can might pick strong for like the next battle like for picking from getting up like picking for might not be at all an option for like night battle in which that the same thing that thing about what is actually because of that like Indian things may be like that with the next space so like this might be how that according to what I think that the training plan like training might have that place uh and also definitely might look very yeah, so like the going to be good right now that like Jonah spent first conversation about like so see yeah Jonah might have gotten like probably wrong might have been more might have I think especially might have break the attack and like Jonah might have blindly believed that like he like extremely innocent and pure might have been extremely genuine might have been along the lines of looking like Jonah might have been like the offensive and soon after like something became like the queen like substitute like together and attitude might have taken that absolute extreme shift and change like a total 180 and basically so basically even behave and how attitude was like and how the interacted with like uh Jonah might have been like this and Jonah might have been absolutely shocked that we know like so Jonah at that point might have not been able to like student not been able to like show see and the whole service in like the electoral scene might have asked the certificate like between might have been like the name and pyramid so that at that point that Jonah might have been filled with that absolutely feeling on that it can record for like telling others to like marry something might have been like the case as well as like Jonah might have been greatly fond to warn and caution Robert about to always watch out for that something do not blindly believe anything blinded so like viewing things much these days and to that watch out for the might be around the line like Jonar might not really bought a selected forward, but like Jonar might have also in this like situation where like it might have taken out for like Jonar to do exactly that because of that limiting outland in now Robert was towards like safety that when might have been like the case the time like situation of like Jonar especially might have very expensive. So like technique might be good and you know to technique for like the young and from like of that thing Robert I'm developing right now self like without wasting any time like supporting like conversation between like adapt the current conversation between like adapt and over to like the queen and the clear the point at that point like for like succeed to like most likely have uh come up with like villain strategy to like to sever like the bond between like Robert and adapt the like in the supreme and like circuit making small steps towards that scenario that I'm different by eventually I'm different like circuit tricking Robert by most likely telling Robert that so Robert's like current unfit state to like take part in that window to be along the line like that like adapt is like secretly walking and making fun of Black Robert behind Robert back. So the along the lines of eventually Black and different lines between quickly tripping and manipulating Robert to actually quickly on the different like between convincing Robert most likely by telling that like it was not fight that is he had overheard Black adapt Black of different like Robert back and like making fun of Black Robert. That is like the scenario that I'm going to at that point, I'm looking for that Robert to be initially persuaded with Black Adam, and at that point, I'm looking for that to be that that they take advantage of that persuasion of Black Robert to get to convince Robert to have that between Black Jamie and Black the winner to see if Black Adam still has his Black skills and everything that they see since like many years have passed, like I see that like for like Adam to prove his work as like the hand of equity through a battle against like Jamie. To be along the lines of delivering for like 30, 23 manipulating and convincing like Robert to like for a battle between like Adam and then Jamie, in which like I'm like between doing her absolute like certainly doing her absolute best to like having that battle between like Adam and Jamie. Jamie feeling like the extreme favor of like Jamie. And even in that battle, like I'm no different. And in that battle, I'm no different. Like maybe even uh, by then, like I'm no different. Like Robert to have bottom manipulate to the point of that Robert maybe even going to the extent of like wishing for like Jamie to defeat and after like the now that I'm no different. But I'm no different. Like without that way without like Robert realizing like the Sophie like against like that battle to the extreme, but still I'm no different. Like ending up that defeating thing like scenario that I'm not taking and that is dangerous. And at that point, like Robert feeling even more frustrated with that and it might think it's not that I'm going to think I'm not feeling it's well like the me my very interesting right now is for like from about the like once again end up being like the grand like the night the flip flowers like some lot of like any of being not really fitted but like the not like some lot of I mean like the now that I'm going to like the night grand is like now that I'm going to and I'm looking for like Gregor to that win one more like that which like was not that I'm at that point I'm looking for like King Robert to be feeling extremely intrigued about like the battle and badly King Robert at that point badly wanting a battle between that Eta and something about was like now that and that way like I'm thinking that the fourth battle I'm looking to be between that Eta and Subdrago in which like I'm different like Eda's like being on that absolute full display with like Eda turned down and typically turned down Subdrago that thing is now that I'm yet like while doing so without like ensuring to like not most like the law of like Trevor, such as would president end up debating some Trevor skillfully was like the and like then that you pick out like being so absolutely like head up that point is like the while Seraphi and Jania won't be at all like that. It's like it's not like that I'm putting on then. So it's a lot, but we might be right now for like on the next morning like I'm bring that but it's landing waking up to like the news of like the law of like some law of like to now that of the because like I'm going to like the middle of the night like I'm friend like getting speaking frustrated like some kind of like most likely sneaking up on like law of like the middle of the night and most likely taking on most like Australian of Black Lodge selection law by stepping down, down by down. Most likely my team a claim for like by down will be all low. So like the opportunity that I'm looking for like the down regular like Sansa excitedly the meeting up with the Black Law and that excitedly racing law about it like performance being so great and everything to be along the lines of and feel excited and happy manner like I'm going to for like for like Santa praising Sir Lawrence, which unprofitable like Joffrey ending up happening to see somebody like just not that a different. So like at that point like Joffrey feeling extremely jealous of that SerLoras and under the range for like solving suddenly rules the queen giving like the more feelings of Gregor to elect the midnight might to like bring out SerLoras like the Saru that way in like the next morning that the things landing waking up to like the protect the talking dog of like for especially in Sansa, being absolutely for and trying that is like still the scenario so other complicated going on the fighting. So that according to my friend and that point I'm respecting for like everyone in like in plan straight away, assuming that if we might have been that the one for that Gregor thing like station of like those who like problem without like without realizing like the involvement of that job and something like the scenario that was the yes, so like definitely my episode right now is for like one of like the soldier to like right now and try to like protect like Kathleen like and that's why like Kathleen by most likely from like the tribe and most likely take him to the same dimension by telling up to like by trying to take up to like just the dimensions that now than and living. But like at that point I'm protecting for like for Tyrion to like straight away shout out to that soldier to take them in that opposite direction to where he might be in the community. Because and I'm talking like and actually on like quickly mentioning like the reason to do that definitely like 310. I'm talking at that point for like Tyrion's like intelligence to like take the spotlight and basically for like once like Tyrion basically tell the reason why Tyrion will be telling them to for the he will be telling them to like take the opposite direction like and that it basically makes sense to like Catelyn and like so just like personality that is opening and that way Jam running like the soldier taking Catelyn to like the opposite direction and basically that way solely lead to like Tyrion's like timing like topic thing for like Catelyn managing to like survive the battle by the with right his rights like it's not exciting thing while Tyrion and the total trying like in the course of that battle ending up one of like the tribe ending up finding Tyrion and Tyrion getting badly injured in that before like the soldiers will be bring down like that is trying like scenario that I'm looking for and not the ability. So like at that point I'm definitely praying for like Catherine to like definitely Catherine has to like that soldiers to like definitely feel a soft corner towards like Tyrion and like them at that point basically feeling that of that like giving like the benefit of doubt to what like Tyrion saying that is innocent is like the scenario that I'm looking for. So like in the opening from that point on, like in the for like gadgets as well as like the social like or some like no more making fun of like Ethereum or like reading in code like that kind of like they would now is like so different and the share and so like the other topic that I'm looking like right now is for like Ethereum to that most likely will not has some like to ensure like the protection of that gateway until like the battle against like the price would be or it's like now it was when that gets like the battle and when that the remaining soldiers of the Gatling like is being under the country to like the battle against like the fight like and when them all eventually ending up but when was that the grave number of like interactions of the minimum and so like that all like even like the person and protector of the Gatling as well like is being busy in like that with like the big fight it's like the situation that I'm looking for Gatling to be like it's not that that way at that point that they are ensuring that throughout like ensuring like the protection of the cat and by exactly using a bomb and which like weapon against like the right it's like now that I'm looking at the brain. This is like we want to bring right now that like the cat might be part of that idea of like late training to increase like ideas like agency given to Arya by ideas that training I thought there might be like that to the case of him of brain. So like especially my brain is right now. So like Donald might have known any question to exchange Robert, but like John Adams that question might have been to subject might have been attacked to the police subject friends. Because like John Adams might have figured that like what might have been attacked to the case might have been that in like the extreme that situation like thing Robert like Robert might have had like a good no involvement in it at all. And like the culprit might have been the police or free might have been attacked with the case of minimum friend and like John Aaron might have to be figured this out might have been like the case of minimum friend and John Aaron might have also a question about that. So like John Aaron might have a question about this to Sapri and eventually might have also uh figured out about like what might have been the character of the case and still remember it might have been that like it might have been segregated to like Jamie like Greens and like the Queen or Sophie might have been naturally might have been giving money to like any for his lecturers might have been like actually the case between of them. John Adams might have questioned it and eventually might have and the team might have like ignored it and deviated from like the question until eventually John Adams might have got fed up to like the point of that John Adams eventually might have been aware for a long time about like the secret again like safety and they might have been like the case, but might have also like remain silent might have been like the case the blame of it. So like a friend of John Adams like eventually might have ended up making it obvious that like John Adams knows like secret between like he and Jamie and if like the twin doesn't stop and if like the twin doesn't like stop but like in the uh, from the worsening up like it like the field of stop from the worsening up like the situation like then John Aaron would like reveal about like a secret between like they need to forward maybe to such extent that John Aaron might have literally a part of John Aaron might have maybe attempted to like intimidate Cersei might have been one might have happened with the Glim of Strength, but like even by then already like like Jonah might have been without realizing might have been already going through like the slow poison might have been like that 20 decades of Glim of Strength. It's like the Glim of Strength right now, so like in about 12 years here in army was like defeated like that point like what like Jamie and like the real might have done for like survivors might have been like Jamie taking that absolute right. But so she might have acted like extremely elegant and innocent with like the hopes of like basically like the Robert and like that without the big fair uh, like involving taking up opportunity. In such hope like like he might have sometimes the behave that the man of might have been what might have differently and performance of where might have been it is something different. But like Robert's position to marry like Cersei might have been as like such an absolute shocking surprise to like Cersei might have been what might have happened something like and that day like Cersei at that point might have seen that a good opportunity to like eventually have like the lands to literally land to play out an ultimate strategy to like eventually bring it down steadily to like bring down forward and basically have like the Lannister eventually end up ruling like the King of Land and eventually was up to like have land the Lannister itself like the Lannister itself like be land the upper like down over to be land the next king of land the king of landing land around this line down even way back then like even way back then like Jamie and like Cersei might have plan might have been what made it simply the brain mission. So definitely I'm still thinking about trying to that like Joffrey might not be that son of that Robert and like the queen, but like the Joffrey might be like some of like Jamie and like the queen might be like that with the game of different and like the queen first one that she lost that she claims to have lost like might have been like the son of like some of like Cersei and Robert might have been like that with your definitely one from so like Cersei might have and that might be the reason for like the loss of like Cersei's land. But it might have remembered that like in that reason and it might have been when like the Cersei might have said good plan or like increasing like the army strength of like the king of Danik by most likely eventually by tricking the and this lead having like he might have that something might have played a major role in like getting the sort to be able to kind of team up with like the Raja might have been what might have happened is the female friend. So like might have been most likely through Jorah than like it might have been maybe through Jorah than like through that the might have might be having a connection with that through which like oh like something might have got like through Jorah like to have like with the to be able to like team up with like the Raja and that might have been an absolute freaking by like Cersei on the gun might be like that could be the case that we must bring. So like the Cersei might be totally unaware of all this like play behind the most likely by Cersei and Jorah might see like that could be the case that things is rendered. That way like Cersei might be confident on how confident that like basically even if like the Dothraki army takes on like the army of like the king planning like the fleet of the Dothraki army will get defeated. So like the plan of Cersei might be for like the army at like the king landing to that definitely target like target because like what Cersei might be believing might be such that basically if like the leader of like the Dothraki army Tarbago get defeated, then that will like quickly bring down like the morale of like the Lombardia. And at that point, like the Lombardia will be able to quickly get defeated by like German like landing and basically uh, to capture like the remaining of like the defeated party army alive and basically to turn them into like the army of the like landing that way to convert them into like the army force of the landing that way and to like reflect the overall might of like the army force of like landing might be along the lines like how separate might be surface Radian land might be like that will be pretty to be might be very interesting. But the belief in that once like Zora found Thanos was like pregnant like at that point like Zora might have naturally might have gone off to like the nearby town to most likely that the reason might be for like Zora to like most likely send a letter to like the king's landing to like the the city might have been like the days like revealing about like the being pregnant and like the delay like sort of like meeting like according to that plan like making they are being that have to change in like the manner and the delay happening and like in like the budget making it to like the king's landing that's to aware like about this might have been like before rich for like Zora going at that point like heading off quickly to like the nearest town uh, to that town might have been like the case but never brain like the cleaner the induction right now that like at certain like we might be feeling maybe more confident along the lines that like even if like frequent sound at that like even if like at that as in like in like the army of like landing they will still be able to like offer and debate like the Prakyati by just bring down value. It also might be along the lines of like maybe a confidence or like all confidence that perceives at present might be having the same frame. So like that way also when preemption like for these land unloading thing might need to like have like the land job rate become eventually become like the new king and like the land job Jamie becomes like the hand of like storing and of the job rate might be definitely what like Safi might be planning is definitely because like regardless of like how much that Jamie might not want to be like behind the thing that uh, Safi might be hell bent on like definitely ensuring to that how Jamie itself be like the hand of them Joffrey of Neptune Joffrey who that convince Jamie through any means to be like the hand of like King Johnny might be along the lines like Safi might be about might be like that the team family man attention. So like the presence of like the landscape in all those powerful person might be of like the top priority for like something more than anything might be like that to the team family. Also, the belief might be right now, that like it might not just be bad alone, but that failing as well might have been sent that time might have been sent to different and might have been like the activity of the belief, especially my vegetarian right now, because like I'm going to bring definitely like things might want to bring down at so that like people have can might have been like might be like the activity of like the realistic inner realistic desire of like even Baelish might be like the activity of like the team that we might have framed into that Baelish might have consciously sent at the for that investigation into that might have been like that to detect the demon threat. So that like between the sees that attention would be falling onto like sharply falling onto like that so that like succeed upset would be ensuring to like bring down would be doing the work for parents without pay I think it might be along the extent to which like Baelish as well might have realistically strategize and plan and might be at present might be in like the cost of situation might be like actually basically that we might was very temperature right now. Yes, so that we want to end right now is that like according to comparison that there is might have right now seeing the Arya or hearing like where this conversation might be like that to the details that we want to yet like sales might have actually decided to and might have consciously started to like save Arya and like might have consciously refrain from revealing about that crucial information about RDF, like or hearing to where consciously solely due to that idea being the of that result, but like idea being that's the of it in my feel that that is really the case that we like to do that question right now. So that's the place I was in the question right now that we talk about created as or like the different for like they to the self be short in front of that idea and like they like okay, putting on that as the same acting in front of like Arya as like they must go without covered and that they have like aware at the of like that like planning and everything and like that is like totally safe in like with like page to be along the line terms of between like page to like most likely but Arya to think that like Ada already knows about like the planning against like Ada it's like scenario that say that things like things are to maximum to like prevent Arya from revealing the crucial information of that as of like planning against like Ada like the scenario that I'm over the mission right now. So yes, so like the big map of Imperium right now for like only to like target progression and protection right now for like adapt to like only feel that will be the armor of sun like over to most likely be like it's been taken by the landscape in like the situation might be along the line that adapt and progressing right now to like only feel the like I'm talking for like adapt right now to like the beliefs suggest like the armor of sun of forward for like the beauty and like the night watches like the sound and in that way I'm probably bring the and that way like I'm relaxing being sent to like the location of like the night watch is like the doing the scenario that I'm probably bring so like that way like I'm probably bringing the belief of his process like that has so much Robert like his person that he being present along with like Sam as well as while they will be eventually in winter would be setting up for like the famous night sword missions which is now like kind of the thing that lot of India right now.